aspects. So we are a team which is talking for the cadaveric dissection and how it is essential for the medical field. Shall we start with the first round? Yes. Are you ready or this is for this is a opening statement. You are talking for 5 minutes to 7 minutes. Possible for 5 minutes. Start. Start the time. So I think we all remember when we first entered our dissection hall. We were so scared, we were clutching our Cunninghams and we had our dissection kit and all the scalpel. And when we entered the dissection hall, we were extremely scared. The air was full of anticipation and also formalin. So it was extremely fearful, but we saw respect and awe. So this is one of a significant milestone in our lives as a medical student in our journey. And I feel that every medical student should experience this. A very good morning again. So today we will be talking about why cadaveric dissection is important in the medical field. To truly know the human body, one must face it directly. Not as a line in a textbook, not as a glowing image on a screen, but as flesh and structure that once carried thought, breath, and life. Cadaveric dissection has long been medicine's most intimate teacher, guiding us through the architecture of the body while teaching us humility, respect, and ethics. It is a place where science meets humanity and curiosity meets reverence. The story of dissection begins in ancient Alexandria, where Herophilus and Erasistratus dared to explore the human form while mapping veins, nerves, and organs with meticulous care. In India, the father of surgery, Sushruta Samhita, through observation and limited dissection, taught the understanding of the body must go hand in hand with respect for life. Across medieval Europe, physicians depended on Galen's animal studies, which, though insightful, contained significant errors. In the Islamic world, scholars such as Avicenna and Ibn al-Nafis advanced anatomy through observation and reasoning. During the Renaissance, Andreas Vesalius revolutionized the field with De Humani Corporis Fabrica and argued that the truth comes from observing the living architecture of the human body itself. Yet, following their era, religious and moral constraints silenced dissection for many centuries. But by 18th and 19th century, physicians realized how important cadavers were for medicine. This led to grave robbing, which later led to public outrage. Thus, Britain's Anatomy Act of 1832 finally allowed ethical access to cadavers.
Due to grave robbing or resurrectionism, the British introduced the Murder Act, which allowed the use of corpses for dissection as a deterrent. This law was among the first to formalize the legal use of bodies for medical education. This was followed by the Anatomy Act, which talks about the legalized use of unclaimed bodies from workhouses and hospitals for medical dissection. It also talks about ending the practice of grave robbing and establish ethical oversight for anatomical studies. Let's talk about the legal actions taken in India. There are several acts like the Bombay Anatomy Act, Madras Anatomy Act, and Karnataka Anatomy Act, which state to regulate and define the responsibilities of hospitals, medical colleges, and authorities in preserving and using the cadaver ethically. Our government of India has released some guidelines for uniform cadaveric donation, which state that the Indian government and medical council encourage body donation with legal framework supporting donor consent, and many states maintain registries for voluntary donors. NFC and MCI also have some guidelines which mandate ethical handling of cadavers, informed consent from donors or legal guardians, and respect for culture and religions.
Even in the modern era, cadaveric dissection remains irreplaceable. Digital models and mannequins can help understand anatomy, but they cannot convey the tactile reality of tissues, the variations between individuals, or the spatial relationships required for surgeries. Each cadaver is a silent teacher, reminding us that medicine is rooted in our altruism, respect, and ethical responsibility. Preservation techniques like formalin fixation and plastination along with voluntary body donation programs, allow us students to learn safely while honoring those who donated bodies. By studying real human bodies, we acquire knowledge that's essential for surgery, diagnostics, and clinical reasoning. It helps us recognize anatomical variations, pathological changes, and subtle cues that are often missed in textbooks or digital models. Furthermore, dissection promotes teamwork, patience, and perseverance. Working in dissection halls, we collaborate, communicate, and problem solve in real life skills that directly translate to clinical environment. The experience also strengthens critical thinking as we must integrate knowledge of anatomy, physiology, and pathology, which helps us ultimately to become competent Indian medical graduates. In essence, cadaveric dissection bridges science and humanity. While technology can complement learning, it cannot replace it. Standing over a cadaver for the first time, a student does more than study anatomy. They encounter life, death, and the humility required to heal.
I would like to end this by saying the cadaveric oath has taught me to treat the cadavers with respect and dignity of the highest order. Respect their privacy and confidentiality. Be grateful to you and your family for the gift of knowledge and to use this knowledge for the service of mankind. Thank you.
A very good morning, respected judges, teachers, and my worthy opponents. Today, we stand firmly against the continued use of cadavers in medical education.
The Indian Constitution is not just a document of governance. It is a compass that protects. It's a moral compass that protects life, dignity, and equality, not only for the living but even for the deceased. Simulators train surgeons, but when it comes to anatomical learning, we still depend on cadavers. Isn't it time that the medical education evolved with the rest of medicine?
We cannot deny that cadavers have been used since time immemorial, and we hold deep respect for those who selflessly donate their bodies. However, despite their historical importance, the use of cadavers in medical education comes with undeniable drawbacks.
Under Article 21, every person is guaranteed the right to life with dignity. The Supreme Court held that this dignity exceeds beyond death. When cadavers are dissected without proper consent or treated merely as objects, we violate that sacred dignity that has been enshrined in our Constitution.
Exposure to harmful chemicals like formalin poses serious health risks, and it violates important articles of the Indian Constitution, which guarantees every individual the right to life and a safe environment. Dissection exposes students and staff to volatile and toxic embalming fluids, primarily formaldehyde, leading to both acute and long-term health problems. Frequent contact with toxic substances and unhygienic conditions places medical students at risk, a situation no education institution should overlook.
The Indian anatomy law allows the use of donated bodies, but not all cadavers are truly donated. Many come from unclaimed or marginalized individuals, stripping them of their autonomy and violating their right to equality under Article 14. It is unjust that the voiceless and poor only became the subjects to such dissections, while the privileged are protected even in their death.
Even after preservation, cadavers can still harbor infectious microorganisms. Violations of standard infection control practices put personnel at risk of contracting diseases. Moreover, poor maintenance and hygiene can lead to infections and psychological distress among students. India today faces a growing shortage of cadavers, making this practice increasingly unsustainable. Not every medical college has sufficient access, which often leads to overuse, poor preservation, and compromised learning experiences. Although safer, synthetic, and more accessible alternatives exist, continuing with such outdated methods contradicts both scientific progress and constitutional responsibility. In a field as advanced as modern medicine, it is only fair question whether traditional dissection is still the safest and most ethical method of learning. With changing times comes new technological advancements, which result in newer and safer practices. Today, science demands safer, ethical, and more sustainable methods of medical education. In the era of innovation, clinging to such unsafe traditions compromises both learning and safety. Modern alternatives allow us to learn effectively without risking health or violating constitutional rights.
Let us not forget that the right to dignity does not end with death. The Anatomy Act, while it allows medical colleges to acquire unclaimed bodies or those donated voluntarily, this often raises questions about consent, identification, and ownership. There have been cases of misuse, poor documentation, and delays in body disposal. Synthetic models, on the other hand, eliminate all such legal gray areas. No consent required, no licensing hurdles. And let us not forget improper sourcing, transport, and disposal of cadavers often breaches core sections 297 and 404 of the Indian Penal Code and the biomedical waste management rules as well, threatening public health and legal accountability. In an era where technology offers lifelike virtual dissections, simulation models, continuing to use cadavers is not only outdated, it is unconstitutional. True medical education must heal the living without dishonoring the dead. The Constitution teaches us compassion, consent, and equality values that no anatomy lab has the right to dissect.
This isn't just about science. Our demand for cadaver creates a very black market and cadaver scam that exploit the dead and deceive the living. We have a real case to present. In Harvard Medical School, the morgue manager was indicated for allegedly stealing human remains from cadaver, including heads, brains, and bones, selling them through mail. This demonstrates a network of illicit trade. Some students may resort to gallows, humor, or emotional attachments. This can lead to disrespectful behavior in anatomy lab. Such examples are making jokes, taking photos, using slangs on cadavers, which is a serious ethical breach. We, as future doctors, must adapt and cope with new situations that our field presents to us. It is our duty not only to preserve the dignity of the human body, but also to protect our own health and uphold the values of modern ethical medicine.
Team B is ready. Please settle. Team A is ready with the question. Okay. So now we will ask. So now there is a second component. I'll come back again. I'll brief you how it is to be done now. Team A will put in a question of argument for Team B. Okay? Team B will be given 4 minutes to to think and come with the answer. Okay? And you will respond for 2 minutes. Whatever argument you want to do, it will be done for the 2 minutes. For which the counter argument, whatever you want to do, you should come back within 1 minute. Okay? If you don't come back within 1 minute, then question is closed. Okay? First team question will be raised by team A, then question will be raised by team B. Second question of team A will be again, then team B next question, third question of team A, and third question of team B. Fine? You got my point? So now team A will raise the question. For team B, please listen the question.
In the introduction, they mention about the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. It comes with certain constraints, and the articles are not absolute. So, what is your stance on this? And the other articles as well, they come with constraints. So, what's your stance?
This question is clear to you? Did you get the question? Okay. Now, time started. Your 4 minutes time has started now. Wait. You can take time for 4 minutes. What do you want? Yes.
I think your question was about Article 21. So, Article 21, the right to life and personal liberty. I will state the statement first. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. The article clearly states that no authority, including an education institution, that is medical education combined can endanger a person's safety unless there is clear, fair, and legal justification. So, if medical students are being exposed to harmful chemicals like formalin without proper protection or alternatives, it clearly violates Article 21 because there is no law that allows risking a student's health in the name of education. Also, we have Article number 23, Prohibition of Exploitation. Article 23 of Indian Constitution prohibits human trafficking and forced labor, including practices like bega, that is involuntary labor without pay. Under Article 23 of our Constitution, all forms of exploitation and trafficking are prohibited. Yet, the shortage of cadavers has created a black market where human bodies are traded without consent. This is clearly post-humanist exploitation, violating the spirit of Article 23. No medical education can justify a practice that turns human dignity into commerce.
Still time is there for you to argue. Still 1 minute is there. You want to argue?
We have the legal principle precautionary duty, which is recognized by Supreme Court when there is a threat of serious or irreversible harm. Lack of full scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing preventive action. Preventive action, that is using alternatives. The precautionary principle upheld under Article 21 and 48A requires us to prevent harm before it occurs. Since formalin used in cadavers is toxic and carcinogenic, continuing its use endangers health and the environment. Thus, under this principle,
So 1 minute begins. Within 1 minute. Within 1 minute you have to answer.
Regarding the right to life and dignity, yes, it extends after life. But there are other articles as well. Right to property, 300A of the Indian Constitution, right to freedom of expression, 19 Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, and right to equality, 14 to 18 of the Indian Constitution. So these are not absolute rights. They come with constraints and stating about the this about the alternatives. So use of alternatives, mannequins, singers, all these produce incompetent doctors, and incompetent doctors in itself by itself is problematic to society because Article 21, the right to life and dignity, it also explicitly mentions right to health in the Indian Constitution. And if the living society is not provided with adequate health amenities, then this is tampering of this particular article of the Indian Constitution. So such alternatives cannot be used. And speaking about the extending of the right to life and liberty beyond death. So here, after death, it is with NOC, no objection certificate. So NOC is certified, and age considerations are also taken into account above 18 age, and NOC by the guardians and other relatives. So and it demands compliance. Any article in that case or any part of the constitution, it demands compliance with higher authority and the society. So if there is no compliance with the society and the right to health is violated, then this itself is contradicting your point that in introduction you guys stated that cadavers cannot be replaced. So you are contradicting your stance. I dismiss.
You have to within 1 minute. You want to end or you want to talk? No,
So you said that there is no alternative for real cadavers. Well, I think there are. There are new technologies like augmented reality, which gives you a 3D overall view of it, of the body. We have actual things like syndavers, which are made of polyurethane and they mimic the real body. There are also things like VR, which help to simulate the dead body. And another question I have to ask is, if real doctors don't actually practice operations on a dead body, then why should students like us practice on cadavers?
With
3D virtual anatomy, as you said, alternatives cannot be there. With 3D virtual anatomy, synthetic models and AI-based simulation now matching dissection accuracy, why choose to cut real human bodies at all? If knowledge can be gained humanly, why moral reason remain to stay inhuman? True progress is not about cutting deeper, it's about thinking higher.
One more time you have. You want to argue?
So first of all, I'd like to say that you mentioned that there are new technologies. So mannequins, there are three kind of mannequins, like low fidelity, medium fidelity, and high fidelity. So high fidelity mannequins are the only mannequins that can actually compete. They're not then like almost close to real bodies. But now these mannequins, they cannot be dissected upon. You're talking that they can be dissected upon. No, they cannot. And even if they cannot replicate a real human body. Now, in terms of cost, a mannequin is much costlier, and in terms of quality, a cadaver is much better. So I'd always prefer a cadaver between a mannequin.
One more question to your contradiction. When a physician encounters a bleeding vessel, as you said, when a physician encounters a bleeding vessel in an emergency, should they rely on the muscle memory that they have got from the dissection of cadavers, or should they rely on the gaming memory that they have brought from the VRs or the mannequins? Like, how would you literally say that doctors do not practice on dead bodies?
No,
This
the
is
question should lie on the first point. You are opening what the argument was given by you, right?
yes.
With respect to sections,
Yes.
section articles. Stick on to that section articles only. You are jumping for the next.
So
Mannequins, you
regarding the question of mannequins, the synthetic alternatives and simulation technologies, considering the simulation technologies, it generates a lot of e-waste, and lab technicians and other menial task workers are not equipped with such skills to manage the e-waste. And coming to mannequins, the use of mannequins, okay, if mannequins are used, but for histology slide preparation, you should again import a cadaver. How will you do that? You are, however, relying on the cadavers. Because again, for histology slide preparation, you need a cadaver. You cannot take a mannequin. And the intricacies are different
so
in
it's the last
mannequin.
chance for you to argue.
You told about the telling key we cannot dissect the 3D models, right? We can actually dissect, and you mentioned about the cost. Basically, it is given the cadaveric labs will take more than 3 million of annually. It's not only about the bringing them. There is a usage of formalin and about like bio waste and all. You told it cannot be used. There are some like silicon, polyurethane. They can be give as a exact texture, not exact, but they can mimic the cadaver at highest point. And you told ki, what we are using 3D models might not be the real. The other cadavers which we are using give us the real. We all dissected in the labs, right? Did you touch the skin? The nose was hard. Are our real noses hard? No, right? Even the cadavers cannot mimic the actual human body. So instead of working on it, we can go for the technology which is improving day by day. We cannot use the ancient methods. There are many ancient methods which were used, but they have been deleted now due to health concerns.
As you said about the e-waste, are you aware of the biological waste created because of the cadavers? The toxic chemicals which are used to regulate the cadaver is carcinogenic. Do you still prefer being exposed to carcinogenic because you want the real feel of a cadaver? I do not think so. That is right. And also about the sustainability. When you make a synthetic cadaver, that's a syndiver that can be reused and it will be lasting for many years. But cadaver, once you dissect it, you cannot use it. So there is so much of resource waste. And also cadavers, when they are used, only some people can dissect in the hall. But the cindavers can be used multiple times and it can be used for personal study as well. You do not have to have the environment of dissection hall every time. And also that cadavers are dead. So the deceased part or the reason of the death of that person is not the main organ is affected, so you cannot cut it apart.
So this is the end for the first question of argument raised by team A. Okay. Now team B will raise the first.
Like in the intro, when I heard they went through the Anatomy Act, let me be very specific. If you see the Anatomy Act, state specific, Delhi Anatomy Act 1953 and the Maharashtra Anatomy Act 1949, these were created around more in 1950s, which is right now not applicable. We have a lot of technology in the future. We have made phones in 20 years. We did not have the technology which we had 20 years right now, we can't even imagine. So why compromise on medical education? And it also says, I'll state the law. Provide for the lawful possession, use, and supply of human bodies for the purpose of anatomical examination, teaching, and research, and to regulate the donation and disposal of such bodies. Also, use of voluntarily donated or unclaimed bodies for medical teaching. When we see in olden times, there was no technology. So this was a loophole which
What is
was.
your question?
Ma'am, my question is, right now technology has come into play and we have a lot of different various methods. So why do we need to go for like cadavers right now when we have shortage of cadavers in the real world?
Okay, that is your question. So you have got the question what they have asked. 4 minutes for to discuss. You can start your argument for 2 minutes.
Okay, so first of all, she had told, the person who was speaking told that bodies are less, cadavers are less. So this actually points out how valuable cadavers are, and we need to like tell more people to enlist for body donation because we need more cadavers. Now, technology. We cannot deny that technology has improved in the last 40 or 50 years. For example, he told that we are using mobile phone for texting. Right now, we're not texting, right? We're actually talking about the debate. So, what I like to say is, technology will actually assist us with dissection, but it can never replace the core of anatomy, which is dissection. If you remove dissection, it's like removing the core of anatomy.
Okay, you said about the technology and mannequins. Do these technology and mannequins provide us with the biological variations with the cadavers provide us? Like for example, the blood vessel pathways or the nerve branches, these are different in every cadaver. How are we going to replace that with a mannequin?
So you also mentioned about the technological replacement from cadavers to synthetic tools. So if we can
No, no,
posthumously.
question they have raised, you are supposed to answer.
So the replacement, if I talk about why to use the cadavers again, why not to switch to technological mode? This is because posthumously, if we can consecrate a person, give Bharat Ratna, Gallantry Award, and posthumously cryopreservation sperms could be used for reproduction, then why not posthumously use the human body for medical education?
And also, I heard something that was saying about like bodies are obtained from unlawful, practices. So to this, I have to say that this is a problem that's more of management, not of dissection.
So, you have counter. No question, countering for their argument.
He said that we can place a person to donate their bodies, but I have data that Bangkok study has said that only 619 cadavers are received in 8 years, despite of thousands of places. So it means this promise to donate are many, but bodies that arise are only few.
Regarding the cadaver short.
You have 2 minutes. You want to.
The thing is, you told we can make people donate more bodies, right? We cannot force them, telling that it is needed for medical. It's their own will. If we force them, might, but we cannot force them for what they don't want to by making them emotionally blackmail.
You said about how some people will be donating their bodies, but how many of these bodies are actually donated from their own will? There are so many bodies who are unclaimed, who don't have any consent but are directly given just because they have no next of kin.
Are you aware about the black market reality which is happening in the world? Just a year, last year, the Times of India report exposed the racket selling human cadavers to private colleges for 40,000 to 1.5 lakh each. When bodies can be treated as goods, do we still have the right to call this science? When the body becomes currency, humanity becomes cheap, and also a person becomes specimen, medicine loses its soul. What do you have to say for this?
On the shortage you have said that no bodies, like more bodies are not available. What about Shegunsi village of like what Ramanavan has sir has said? The whole they have motivated even through religious way. All they have donated the whole village. It is the topmost village which has donated the bodies at the maximum level.
To the point to you which you said that we have cadaveric shortage and that we are forcing people to give their bodies by emotionally blackmailing them, we are not. Donating your body is a selfless sacrifice that people choose, and if you deny them that right, you're robbing them of their last wish.
Can you just state us the data or the record of all the private colleges that have been alleged for taking the bodies, like the selling and the transport of the bodies? Can you just give us the data of that?
As we have already mentioned the data.
Regarding the cadaver shortage, we are not forcing anyone to donate their bodies. In fact, we are setting examples for people to donate their bodies. One of the famous example is CPI leader, Communist Party leader, Marxist Sitaraman Yachuri. While he was alive, he gave a consent for body donation, and his body was donated to AIMS Delhi for performing dissection. And regarding the cadaver shortage, the problem arises due to decentralized approach. And if the approach is centralized, then the issue could be addressed. Like there are Maharashtra Anatomy Act, Karnataka Anatomy Act, Madras Anatomy Act, but there is no specific act that is centralized.
This is the last chance for you people to counter.
As Tanish said that you need a statistic example for black marketing. I have a real example. Howard Medical School, the Morgue manager of Howard Anatomical Gift Program was indicated for allegedly stealing and selling human remains from cadaver. He accused for dismembering bodies and selling parts including head, brain, skin and bones online and shipping them through the mails and wires. So how could you defend us from this point?
This is the last chance for you to counter.
Cadaver in the name of medical.
Yes.
Cadavers we are using in the name of medical education for the students, teachers, non-stop members to the potential health risks like pathogens and toxins like formalin. And how can we say that in a good conscience, ask someone to donate a body knowing someone involving chemicals and preservation like formalin? How can we harm the every students, teachers who handle them? How can it be ethical, noble act to service might enter others in return? Are we truly surveying the science or we are ignoring the core bioethical principle for non-violence, do no harm, which is the core principle of bioethics, and even autonomy, justice in the name of tradition, because if in the act of service of body suffering risk to others can be still in the storm of service. You said that AIMS Delhi also participated in this, but I think that reputed institutions like Harvard, AIMS Delhi, AIMS Jodhpur, Melbourne University, they are all switching to these synthetic cadavers, augmented reality, and these replacements for cadavers. So if they are doing it, why can't we?
So this is the last countdown for you. Start. Still you have a time? Wait.
So I wanted to ask you regarding formalin. Formalin is a WHO recognized carcinogenic, right? So what are the alternatives to that? If you have alternatives, give it to us. We have no issues, but you all don't have any other alternatives from the last till the time it started.
Okay. Speaking about formalin, first of all, we don't use pure formalin storage. We actually use a 10% diluted formalin. Now, you said that it poses a health risk, and there's some law, I don't know what law, you know some law that states that we are exposing students to risk. No, we are not. We have standardized operational procedures. In our college itself, we wear gloves, we wear masks, we have good ventilation systems. And what about the health risk you say? You might say that eyes sting, maybe you might faint and all, but how many serious cases have actually been posed to us in the past few years? There's like 1 in a million chance of that happening. And is it worth cancelling the entire dissection process just to risk your life when you're actually saving the lives of many, many more people in the future from your studies? In fact, you're not risking your life, but
Can, as you said about formalin, he gave the answer for that. Can you show an evidence where healthy students, I repeat, where healthy students have been seriously harmed, where proper safety precautions and protocols have been enforced?
Regarding the formalin exposure, OSHA limits. So actually, occupational safety health administration standards. It sets up a PEL, that is permissible exposure limit. So what the medical students' exposure is, it is way below the threshold levels. And regarding the formalin, there are alternatives, embalmed cadavers (TEC), which provide the same human counters as the formalin does, and there are also plastination methods where the body fluid is replaced by wax and unsaturated fatty acids, and in this way, in this way. Health issues could be avoided. And regarding the pungent smell of the formalin or such stuff, one could wear a mask, and wearing the mask is
According to WHO, second question is, first question of team B is over. Now,
formalin or the safety risks of using formalin. Uh, the all medical colleges use formalin and other safe alternatives to preserve cadavers. So, are you willing to sacrifice your medical competency just to avoid some mild irritation and other minor risks that pose to you? If formalin is truly that risky to us, then why are we in this medical college using cadavers as dissection? Are you saying that all of us here are at potential risk for cancer?
so you have 4 minutes, 2 minutes now. We'll reduce the time. You
Pujin stated that just we should not use formalin, like we should use formalin and we should avoid the minor irritations. Cancer is not minor, first of all. Formalin is a carcinogenic which is recognized by WHO. And just because the students, yes, they do it there for 2 hours, but the faculty there, they do it for so many years. And do you think just because the symptoms which go after a few days, that doesn't mean that it has already started in our body? It is better to be safe than be sorry 10 years later when we find out that we have got it. And about the side effects, this is my point that because you feel nauseous, you feel the burning sensation in your eyes, that all is not minor, that is considerably more. And because of that, the effectiveness of the concept of dissection, the topic that is studying, students are not able to focus on that because we are busy handling the side effects. What about that? According to WHO, even the best practices and no safety measure can affect 100% guarantee, especially given variable efficiency. And even according to the Department of Health and Human Service, formalin is considered to be anticipated to be a grade 1 carcinogen. And the standard guidelines shows that OSPA of 0.75 ppm, permissible exposure limit, average of an 15-minute effluent, and OSPA scale of short-term exposure for 2 ppm, 50 minutes of exposure, and nosolative for 20 ppm. Previously sensitized individuals develop severely narrow bronchi and very low concentration of even at 0.3 ppm. And we have given all the statistics and all about the colleges which uses this have excluded this ppm. And there are so many. And you guys told about the ventilation. The ventilation is being minimized.
now it's a counter one. Okay?
To your point about the faculties which have managed the cadavers and preservation of cadavers to being exposed to cancer risk, are you saying that this college, knowing all this, it's a medical college, they are willingly exposing their students and their faculties to the risk of cancer?
now, she was saying that we have to, eye irritation is a major concern. So, while cutting onions and preparing dinner, should I stop cooking dinner from today? Or should I stop eating? Now, also, you were saying that formalin is carcinogenic. How many people have actually got cancer from dissecting?
No. Regarding the formalin exposure, okay. So formalin exposure, okay, it's in the dissection hall, but you have formalin exposure in industries, in other scientific research laboratories. So how would you treat such patients who have developed COPD if incompetent doctors are actually the result of such replacements? Okay, so as you said about the formalin concentration, 2 ppm, I guess before coming, you must have read the rules by OSHA formaldehyde rules for medical education. And according to this, all the medical colleges follow all the rules stated by OSHA, and that is the reason why we unhesitantly use formalin as a preservative for the bodies.
So to end this, I just like to reiterate my question. If you're saying that this college is willingly exposing us to cancer and their faculty to cancer, then I think that's a pretty serious accusation.
One last thing, not last. Now, if we were actually going to ban this dissection lab just because formalin is dangerous, are we going to shut down the biochemistry department?
Better silence. As he said that we are gonna ban the dissection lab. We are not gonna ban the dissection lab. We are saying that there are many alternatives for this. We never stated that we are gonna remove the cadavers completely. We are talking about the alternatives. And also somebody talked about for this I have statistics in the analysis also. I'll hand out.
As you told about the standard guidelines of OSPA, I have given the list of medical colleges which are not following it, and according to PubMed, it is not ideal because of the health risks, inability of cadavers to remain lifelike.
So you all are telling us that cadavers are the best use. But right now, the NMC competency-based medical education (CPME) curriculum 2019 onwards specifically promotes the use of 3D anatomy software, virtual dissection tables like Anatomage, and synthetic and virtual models (SynDevers). Even the National Medical Council, our highest medical education authority, encourages the use of modern teaching tools like virtual anatomy and SynDevers. So, if the National Medical Council is promoting us to move away from cadavers, why can't we? And also, you all are saying that in this college we are using real cadavers. This is a new college, this is a new area, this is a new campus. Why can't we go to St. Davis? Why can't we adopt new technology? We just have to change our mindset.
And as you said about where willingly teachers are not exposing, but since we are lacking the 3D alternatives of cadavers, we are supposed to do that because we want to learn this thing. I'm not saying we have to use the alternatives. Rather than it will be helpful for faculties. More than that, it is about lab technicians. As you all have also seen that without mask, without gloves, they were using the cadavers. They were touching the cadavers. This is harmful for them also. So alternatives are the best thing. We have to adopt for that.
Last time of counter.
As you said that the doctors can be the students can use all technological 3D and all. But if we only think the people will go to the incompetent doctors who are dead and who have done the studies with the mannequins, we can't. Even I or everyone will don't go to the incompetent doctors. So you raised the question about the competency. I would like to state a case which was actually done in USA as well as Sri Lanka. So the results were similar, and the case study was done that the two groups, they divided two groups. One group has studied only through cadavers, and another group through VR and all the technological advancements. And the results was something like the cadaveric dissection students had a higher rate of retention than the people who studied from the VR and everything.
So,
one more thing, as you said earlier, that you yourself stated that you do not want the cadavers to be removed completely. You just mean to say that cadavers should be assisted. You use the word assisted with mannequins and VR technologies. You yourself are not clear about the stuff that if you want to fully, completely remove the cadavers.
As you said, in the NMC guidelines, it is also stated that the use of one cadaver per 10 to 20 students is mandatory.
Okay, regarding the use of cinders and synthetic cadavers, they are made of fibers and those are non-disposable, biodegradable waste, causing a catastrophic impact on the environment.
This is the last chance to counter.
Yeah. Can you guarantee an equal learning opportunity for all students when there is a global cadaver shortage? And myself, I've also seen when we started our first dissection, many of us could not even eat food properly. And we face that for 1 week or 2 months or whatever it is. So when using synthetic cadavers, we can also go because surgical, when we are going for surgeries, we can use a lot of technology. We have also real life, we can use our hearts, we can search our hearts into our hearts, which cadavers can't. Cadavers are mainly.
You told ki incompetent doctors will come out if we use 3D models, right? But not true. Like now we are using cadavers, but the surgeons before doing an actual surgery, they are using 3D models to know how exactly, because 3D models give tactical feedback which cadavers cannot give.
And you said about how some student you studied a study about how students retained it. But I also had a similar study where they said that the virtual learning and understanding of anatomical positions, out of 60 students, 49 thought it was very effective. And comparing virtual to traditional, out of 60, again 44 said it was very effective. The retention ability and the ability to do it again and again, that was also 45 people said it was effective. All of these were medicals. And the usefulness overall, it was 48 out of 60 people said it was very useful.
See, and one more thing, were you like we went to a dissection lab, right? There was an upper part which we were dissected. Were everyone able to dissect? Only 4 people were left to dissect, right? What about others? You think only those 4 people are going to be considered?
Okay. So this is the end of second person raised by TJ. Right? So now
If cadavers are truly indispensable, why do must medical boards now approve virtual dissection table for first year medical curriculum? For example, NCLE, Stanford, Melbourne.
Can you take this question? Please come again with the question.
If cadavers are truly indispensable, why do must medical boards now approve virtual dissection table for first year medical curriculum?
In the introduction, you guys said that.
Question is raised now. Only one person. How many people to count? Sir, is there time for you? 4 minutes. Come before that, discuss and.
As Arun said, they just approved the use of virtual and synthetic mannequins. They didn't replace the usage of cadavers because they know that the usage of cadavers is mandatory. And if we practice surgical techniques on mannequins and using virtual reality, our self-confidence will be affected when we are treating the actual patients. After we graduate and become doctors, we are treating patients, not mannequins.
Okay, early exposure to cadaver actually give the student is not exposed to cadaver or death previously. Exposing a student to cadaver in the first year makes him more to cope up with the death. If he is directly faced into the hospital or something, do you expect him to cope up? Now he was saying that he could not eat for a week or months by after dissecting. This will not make the student strong and emotionally strong.
If a student can't handle a dead, motionless body, how can you expect them to actually face a real body in front of them during a surgery? So, with blood and everything, how can you expect them? They can't just handle a cadaver.
Regarding the acceptability of 3D models and virtual dissection image tools, so their acceptability through the central body, then cadavers are also acceptable to very theological bodies like Arya Samaj and ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. How would you counter this? Yeah, we are done.
Okay, as Niharika said, that we have early exposure to cadavers in our first year. But do cadavers spurt out blood when they're cut open? Do they smell like do they smell of blood? They don't. So when you say that we have early clinical exposure, we don't really have that much clinical exposure. We don't know how we will react to blood. We don't know how we will react when we are actively trying to save someone and they die. So we can't say anything really when we are dealing with a cadaver and we are dealing with a dying person. We can't make any correlation.
Continuing her point, surgeons operate on living bodies, not on cadavers. So there is literally you cannot even differentiate. It is just based on your memory that okay, this is the brachial artery, this is this one. Whereas in the virtual one, at least you can see it. You can at least identify it.
And also in India, medical colleges in Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, and Bihar reported several cadaver shortages between 22 and 24. An AIMS Delhi annual report highlighted that even premier institutions are facing scarcity. So, if you're saying cadavers are so important, why can't we just shift to synthetic cadavers, which already premier institutions are already doing? There are doctors learning outside India also, and they are having better technologies when they are using more advanced.
And also, as we are saying about cadavers, we'll get the real feeling. We'll never get the real feeling because it is a dead. And we are, as a future doctors and the present surgeons, will never deal with a dead body. They will be dealing with a living body.
As the point of you told, cadavers are more realistic. Cadavers are beneficial because you can create and simulate different diseases and you can get the virtual feel which you won't get in cadaver. Because cadaver is dead, there is no supply of blood or there is nothing happening. But in cadavers, that would not be the problem.
Okay, and so it's the time for you.
As you said, nothing can come close to a living person, and the closest thing that can come to a living person is a dead person, not a mannequin. So that is what we're using to come as close to practicing on actual patients.
One more thing about cadavers, as you said, do you even know the cost of cadavers that can exactly replicate the human body? As you're saying, I don't typically agree to this that a cadaver can replicate a human body. All the human bodies are different in nature. There are about 8 million, more than 8 million billion people in the whole world, and every person has something different. We have a body in our own dissection lab which has the sternum, I guess, implanted, as we have seen it. So all the bodies are different. Moreover, the cost of cadaver ranges from around 30 lakhs to 2 CR.
Regarding the usage of cadavers, so cadavers actually they take a lot of time in downtime training. It takes 2 weeks for the repair mechanism. So would you make your medical students not get access to the even if it's cadavers for 2 weeks? How can you afford this?
Also, you were saying that bodies, while dissecting dead bodies, we might not get any experience because it doesn't have blood and all. So we actually need dead bodies for this because, like, if we were studying about the clavicle, we just can't bring someone from the road who's alive. We need a dead body because we need to begin with inexperience and gain experience as we go along the way.
Moreover, we can't even see, as you said, does the blood spurt out of the cadaver? Of course it doesn't. But does it spurt out of a cadaver? Of course, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Real blood.
Can you count that?
Again, regarding the cadavers, so assemblage of parts in cadavers is too costly and time-consuming process. So assembling the parts is a time-consuming process. Yeah, it's just like purchasing the error at the price of guidance.
So the cost of a real cadaver is around 10 to 50,000, but maintaining is the main problem. And you all are saying cadavers are very costly. Yeah, it might be, but it is a one-time investment. And also, if you are saying it is very costly, why compromise on something when you're knowing it will help you in the future, right? If Sendivers are giving you a better option, go for them now. And also, why should we sacrifice ethics when we have better options? We are only using cadavers one time. Four people are dissecting one part, and then it is others can't use it again. So Sendivers are giving us a very big opportunity to learn again and again, and it will promote individualistic education.
And you told the 3D models cannot mimic the physiological. Even like we had one implants in the when we got in the dissection, right? Will all the patients coming to you will have the implant to see how it is? You want to study the normal physiology of the body, not the already diseased part. Because if that disease doesn't come to the body, you will not know the normal physiology itself. Normal anatomy. Like if see the cadaver you are studying might be some organ donated. If you don't study that organ and you got a patient who has that organ, you will be like, no, I didn't study this cadaver. It was not in my cadaver. I don't know about this part. You can't exactly do that, right? To ready normal thing in the body first, you need all the parts, all which are working, not properly working, but yeah, they are going.
And I saw many of you all glorify cadavers a lot. How many of you all have used Sendivers? What if you find it to be better than a real cadaver?
And as you said that there's a
Last chance to contact.
Okay, regarding how many of us have actually dissected the cadaver, then my question is, have you even used Endeavor? Is it even in our college? How did you?
So we are just telling, let's use Sendivers and let's use the.
Speaking about cost, I would like to tell in detail about the cost as fast as possible. First of all, we use the cost of 10% dilute solution of formalin is like 10 rupees per liter. No, sorry, 20 to 40 rupees per liter. And a body, you told 10,000 50,000. Donation is free. We don't actually pay them money for it. Now donation is free, and we use about 50 to 40 liters of formalin per year. So it amounts up to around 25,000 to 30,000 per cadaver for the entire year. And also, even after dissection, parts of cadaver can be used in the museum, like we have in a college. And mannequins, they're much more costly. And cindevers, the basic models which can rival cadavers, it starts from 30 lakhs. In 30 lakhs, at this point, are we paying for competence or are we just deciding budgets?
One more thing, as you said about the cost, you said that why compromise over the education quality and competency? Do you even know that, do you know the condition of government colleges? Of course, no, government colleges don't even have proper washrooms. And you're talking about paying this large amount of money just for endeavors?
Endeavors are as such much expensive considering the health budget with the national budget proposed this year. So especially the health budget to the southern states is way low as it's allotted to the North India. So in this very small budget, endeavors and all such stuff really cannot be afforded by government colleges. In fact, if
The last chance for you to counter.
Okay, so we have one stat which says the King's College London reported estimated that maintaining cadaver labs cost over 3 million annually, excluding safety and waste disposals.
You pointed out that government medical colleges they don't have the proper things required for endeavors. Let's be honest, many colleges they don't even have proper cadavers there. So first of all, they don't have cadavers, and you wanted it is better to go for endeavors. And you talked about donation. And wait, you talked about donation, right? How are you sure that the body that is donated, everything is properly correct? What if that person has some some parts? Not all donations you get are proper.
It is validating the major goal bioethics like non-maleficence, justice, and autonomy.
As you said said that government colleges don't have cadaver. In Rajasthan, India, in our India, the GMC Kota and GMC Jhalwar has only 6 cadaver for 200 students. So can you guarantee that equal learning opportunity for all students when there is a global cadaver shortage?
And if you are talking about cost, they have built such a big medical institution, and each of us are paying a lot of money, and we are studying, right? So if you are saying like that, we are the main thing we have come over here is to dissect and understand people. Books will only give us something. Using endeavors is the best method to write right now in the future, and it is a one-time investment. It is not every day.
49 of 71 countries still depend mainly on unclaimed or non-donated bodies. This means that most bodies never give consent, quality, dignity, and autonomy. So bodies that never consented to teach cannot actually educate us.
And you said that, so if we are talking about autonomy, we can't, okay.
This is the end of the argument session. Because that was the last already given. Okay, listen here. Please maintain silence. Instead of 3 argument questions, we have reduced it to 2 now.
So, I would like to end with this. Cadaveric dissection isn't just a tool, it's a teacher. And yes, mannequins and simulations are helpful, but they can only imitate up to an extent. A cadaver reveals the texture, the smell, the variations that make every human unique. You can't learn empathy or precision from plastic. Even if cadavers are few, that scarcity proves their value, not their irrelevance. So if we stop using them if they are rare, because they are rare, we are admitting that we have given up on the very foundation of medicine. So technology and mannequins can support learning medicine, but they can never replace the core of anatomy, cadaveric dissection. So when we are dissecting, we might like think to ourselves that this was once a life, and I must respect every life that follows. That's why cadaveric dissection isn't optional; it's essential, not just to learn anatomy, but to truly become a doctor.
To add on, every cadaver in the dissection hall tells a story of service, sacrifice, and silent guidance. They are the people who chose to continue teaching even after death, and that, my dear friends, is the highest form of generosity. We may learn anatomy from diagrams, but we learn respect for life from those who gave up their bodies for us to learn. Cadaveric dissection builds the doctor's heart to feel and the hands to heal. No simulation or software can replace the sacred bond between the student and the cadaver. That moment at the lecture, when the learning turns into gratitude. Because let us remember, to touch a cadaver is to touch the truth of life. And before we end, let us salute to all those who chose to become our gurus after life. Together we stand by this belief. Cadavers are not dead bodies; they are living lessons, silent teachers, and eternal guides for every medical student. I'd like to end our discussion on behalf of the whole group by saying a few lines. Sayuva deha needuva jnana, sayuva deha needuva jnana, adhe nijvada manava dharmada dana, adhe nijvada manava dharmada dana. Thank you.
Empathy comes from living patients, not unconsented bodies. Real hospital exposure is early years develops stronger compassion that dissection labs. Honorable judges and all present over here, while cadavers have played a vital role in our past, but modern technology has provided us with safer, ethical, and more effective alternatives. Medicine is meant to protect life and uphold dignity, yet cadaver violates both. The Anatomy Act, made decades ago, allows unclaimed bodies to be used, but this has led to exploitation and black market trading. A clear violation of Article 21 and 23. And use of toxic formalins endanger students and the staffs who are using it and pollutes environment, breaching our fundamental duties under Article 51A. In the end, anatomy is not just about knowing the names of bone or tracing the path of nerve. It is about learning the miracle of living life, which living life exactly can't be learned by the dead.
body. Today we have modern alternatives like Syndavers and virtual anatomy supported by National Medical Council, proving that education no longer needs exploitation. True progress lies not in dissecting the dead, but in respecting life, in choosing science with compassion, going with the time, choosing the technology. So we stand firmly against cadaver use because the future of medicine must be ethical, safe, and humane.
Now there is chance for audience.
Request Dr. Santosh Kumar Shetty sir and Dr. Kashyavan madam to come on the dais and give up the result of the today's debate competition.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. With this electrifying debate competition, I was astonished. Okay, like the way I saw the both team A and team B, they are arguing as if I felt like I'm a more drama, like I'm just in this way and this way. Okay, we do watch movies in that way, but in that way only it's like a one more movie for us. Like the motto was like for the topic plus good for discussion, the pro for the dissection against regarding dissection here. Lot many points will arise which were very valid points with all the references here. It is good at this level of first year, it is good to have this kind of knowledge. Okay, it will build up your the aura of the vocabulary so that you can do well in the future days. Now regarding the what you call some pros and cons are there now. With this now, like what I being the audience, what I say is that A plus B the whole square I do it. Okay, exactly. A square plus B square plus so that I take use of the dissection which is required for me, avoiding the negative part. I take use of the new what you call whatever the gadgets, whatever the appliances, so that to my upgradation of myself here. Exactly, it is like combo only that way. We cannot deny exactly this also this because the old generation has come from the old the dissection and new generation is going on here. Both are acceptable, provided they should not harm us. That is the main funda in that way. So I feel both teams have done very much to the par here. It was difficult for us to decide. Even then, the mark is just a numbering. That's it. Okay. The participation is much from you. Okay.
That's why each college makes skill lab compulsory. We have one full floor of skill lab. Like sir said, it is collaboration between both the classes.
So I went back to my first year dissection days while hearing your argument about this particular topic, and I always felt that cadaver was the first teacher, and everything that is associated with death is negativity, sadness, and painful emotions. And the only thing that is happening good with the death is that availability of cadavers to us, and we are using it for a wonderful purpose, that is education. So that is one of the most positive point and positivity that brings us to the dissection hall. So again, I cannot deny the fact that use of technology, it should be used. Actually, I feel that it is more better. Nowadays, skill lab is mandatory, simulated environment is mandatory, and they expose us to the risk before we actually do it on humans. So same thing applies when it comes to anatomy dissection also. And as NMC has mandated to use skill labs, I think it is a better option. And these cadavers can be used for higher level of teaching like postgraduate and PhD level teaching when there is already a shortage. And only few people are getting to learn from it because only 4 or 5 of you will be dissecting and others will be passively watching the dissection and learning from that. And one more advantage of technology is that it can be used, reproduced multiple times. Every one of you can perform dissection individually n number of times. So there are advantages and disadvantages for both. So it was a very nice experience for us also to learn that so many acts and points were there about cadaver donation to dissection. So both teams performed well, and since I got carried away by the idea that technology is more important to replace cadavers, I gave more marks to that team. But sir had was with the history and the historical learning experience, and it is not just about that. Considering both teams performed, sir felt that this team is better. He has given more marks to your team. So if we take the points of both of us then it is just one mark difference between both winners, both the teams, and we have marked it individually, unbiased. So the winner of today's competition is Team A. Congratulations to both of you. All have done a wonderful job. Your arguments are valid. Thank you.
Okay, I just not say it, okay? For the team A and B of the India, marks are simply a number that's there. But the way you put, the way the wordings you put, or how the difference was there, that was pretty appreciable. Okay, the team A has done. So why is it clear points is that in the team A, what we were doing a lot of defense in that way, with all the confounding factors here. Team B was doing good here, even that. But when you compare, like it's just a relative comparison here now. Both are doing at the best only. In that relatively, they are having the higher edge. That was the only word. Exactly. That only they got 1 month extra. Otherwise, both are at the same pace only. A and B. Both are doing good at the same pace.
So it's a time to thank all. Thank you all the students for your such wonderful participation and to our judges for your valuable time. So let's thank our judges with a token of love from our Department of Anatomy. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable time and.
I just think of the training second year, right? What to be put for the debate? I just thinking of that. When you pass first year and now second year, what to be in that way the thought process going on in your mind. Hope for the second year we'll put few more topics when you come for second year. Okay, thank you.
And I thank to our audience students for their patience, attention and support.